The problem with that, like you blowing your loads into your socks, your dogs eat your socks.
Next comic, give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're up next comic. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. I am joined today by my very favorite co-host, Anthony Eugenio. Anthony, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, what's up, Wayne? I'm excited to... What's up, Wayne? I am very excited to do this podcast today because this is what I was looking for when I first started open mics, which is to get somebody that is kind of in our position and tell us what they have learned about doing open. Like, what's the best way to be better at something is to see where other people have fucked up. So this is a good episode where we're going to talk about what we have fucked up and what we've learned about it.
Yeah, we've definitely fucked up a lot. And it would be nice if we had somebody to tell us what that was going to be before it happened. At this point, we've been, almost 8 months in. So we've done a shit ton of mics at this point. More than one a week on average. So I feel like we've learned quite a bit. We've talked to a lot of comedians in the Boston area. So I think what we're going to do today is talk about what we wish we knew when we first started that might help somebody who has not done their first mic, or maybe done their first mic and only a couple 2-3 mics in general.
All right, Pesci. If you're a motherfucker and you want to know...
Such a good Pesci impression.
So fuck. we did an episode at the beginning of how to do your first open mic, which we gotta title the series. It's gonna be some instructional series. I don't know what the fuck we're gonna call it, but
yeah, I don't know.
Not that, but something. Not that one. But where we told you how to physically go and set up an open mic, but we didn't really at the time give you much comedy, insight. Like, for instance, we talked about on a podcast with Fredo Cruz that you should probably put if you have darker jokes, you should probably put it towards the middle or end of your set. Start off with some easier, more palatable material that can get the crowd on your side first, and then you can go into it. That, I think, is a perfect way that we want to start this episode, is to give you little tidbits like that. Like, don't go out there and talk about your dick first line. Tough. Gotta get people in. Like, Wayne's got a fantastic pronouns bit that he does in the beginning, and I've said since the first day he did it that is such a good way to draw the crowd in on your side. Self-deprecation, lighthearted, good for everybody, that type of bit. Then you can talk about, whose grandmother is going to give you a lap dance. They got to be on your side first, though.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about a little bit about, like, your first set, my first set. That might be a good thing to mention, like you said. Like, your first set, you went on stage, and the first thing you said was my first dick pic. So maybe not start with that. So one of the things that we've learned, like Anthony said with Fredo, is like not necessarily start with your darker, but not start with your most obscene things. Like, people might watch comedy and think, yeah, like, Louis really good, Anthony Jeselnik's really good. They're really, like, not obscene, but maybe just out there with their comedy. I should do that. But no, you shouldn't. And one of the reasons that we've talked about over the past few months, occasionally in podcasts, is people aren't there to see you. So they're not necessarily there for your type of comedy. So you need to kind of win them over. And like we said with Fredo last week or whatever, you need to sell yourself before you can sell anything. So you need to get the crowd on your side before you start saying heinous and hideous things.
Yeah, Jacques Lambert talks about it. He calls it the ambush comedy. Where
Yeah.
Louis can say those jokes and Jesselnick could start a show with those jokes because you already bought the ticket. Like, meaning you bought into the comedy already. You most likely know what it's going to be, and the product is in your hands. Where we hold the product in front of you. We have to get you to take it, sell it, come into our circle, and buy it. And so it's already like we're kind of doing the pre-sales to the sale where Louis already got the sale. So a lot different ways than you structure your comedy that way. So you want to bring people in, get them on your team, get them to buy into what you're doing, and go, all right, I'm in. And once you get the feeling to that, which could take 1 to 2 jokes of getting the crowd laughing and going, depending on the host, your host is going to be a huge factor into this. How well your host, because if you got a shitty intro, you might have to do 2 good jokes. If you have, yeah, definitely. If you have a good intro, you might be able to just fucking get right into it, right? Because you've already got the crowd bought into you. So that's our main point to the beginning: is get the buy-in, then take them anywhere you want to take them, but don't just take them there, because then you're going to lose a lot of people.
Yeah, I learned that. I continually learn that. Like, because I'll do really good at working on a set, and then all of a sudden I'll get this thing like, man, I have to do this. I have to do it. And then I'll go on stage and I will do some jokes, and they're not great. Maybe they are. Maybe they're funny for the right people, but they're not. They're too dark, or they're too out in left field, or whatever. The thing to take away is, like we said, they are not there to see you. People are not there to see you. An open mic is for you to work out your material, not for you to make these people laugh. I think, in a way, you kind of want to make them laugh. You hope you make them laugh.
Yeah, that's terrible advice. Definitely try to make them laugh.
You definitely want to try to make them laugh, but don't feel bad if you don't, because you're there to work it out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, that is precisely right. And also learn that just because a joke doesn't work somewhere doesn't mean that A, the joke isn't funny, obviously, or B, that you're getting the wrong crowd. Sometimes, like, this is definitely how Salem works for me, where I just farted. So I hope that I don't know how well, because I heard it. Yeah, I was like, yeah. Keto month, everybody. It's just devastating my track. I always pee a lot before shows, but now I've been diarrheaing right before I go on stage. I like every time.
I like how you call it Keto month. It's no longer Sober October.
Yeah, I know. So Sober October is, for anybody that doesn't know, take you behind the quick tangent behind the scenes, is not just not do, because the problem with Sober October for me was it's normally for drinking, and I don't really drink, so that's not that much of a challenge. But I smoke a lot of weed, so that was the first challenge. But when you have kids, like I had a newborn this year, and then 2 years ago I had a newborn, and I can't do Sober October that year because they need to live, and if I don't, they will die. And 100%. I mean, I don't know how people do it. But on a normal, I still add other challenges to it, and I try to compound it every year, like work out every day, which I couldn't do this year because I blew my ass out a lot. And then it's been a fucking tough year. But there's a diet aspect to it, which I have no excuse for. You have to do the diet aspect. And for me, the diet aspect is intermittent fast, can't eat till after 3, and ketogenic diet. Pretty strictly, so no sugar, carbohydrates, any of that stuff. And yeah, that's what we do for the month. And I don't know why did we get on this tangent? Why are we talking about this? Because my diarrhea. Yeah. I was like, why are we talking about my diet? Yeah, so you could imagine if you go from eating all kinds of things to only fiber and protein, it literally is what Oppenheimer was talking about. I have become death, the destroyer of worlds. And I have to, there's no telling when it happens, and it always happens right before I go on stage. So that's another tip. Very helpful to have diarrhea before you go up there, because you will have a pep in your step.
I'm really confused about how you do an entire 5-minute set without going to the bathroom. Because when we're sitting at the table, you're up like every 3 minutes.
I try to go every 5 minutes to go in between the comics, at least. But yeah, for sure. So here's the thing. I don't drink. So when I go to open mics, I'm not saying like everybody who says I don't drink, you're like, man, you drove that Ferrari way too fast a couple times, didn't you? And totaled it once, and now you can't fucking drive it, can you? No, I would like. I don't mind having a beer every once in a while. It's not that. I just don't like the taste of it. Really weird. I don't know. I like weed.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because me and you used to hang out once a week when you were in Lawrence. Like every week, I would go pick up a different 12-pack.
That was for you. That was 100% for you. Every time,
just for me. You were
Yeah.
such a good boyfriend.
I was. Yeah, every beer that you got tasted exactly the same to me. Shit. I
What about the one we made?
Numb Face.
Numb Face is what we called it.
Yeah, we did make a beer. Yeah, is the
Yeah.
end to justify the means. But then weed comes along, and you realize how much better it is.
What did we put in Numb Face? We put something like fucking obscure in it. It was actually really good.
It was a great beer.
Do you remember
It was vanilla? It was vanilla
it wasn't
and
vanilla. There was-
orange?
We put orange. Oh god, I can't remember. We had some sort of spice or something we put in there.
I remember we went to the brewery shop, and we're like, what do you recommend for hops? And he was like, whatever you fucking want. And I was like,
Yeah,
damn.
that guy Joe. This is Joe.
Yeah, he's great for fuck. That was a great intro
Man,
to.
that was good. I remember the smell of that the wort when we were cooking it. It was like it smelled really good, but it was like bad.
It overpowers
At
the
same
house.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would make everybody in my family very upset that I did that. A couple times we did it.
Man, that was good times. So it wasn't that long ago on a Facebook memory. I found the picture of the bottle up against the light. We took a picture because we were young, dumb. We took a picture and it was Numb Face and oh god,
Stickers
it was
and
good
everything.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
we made stickers too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, I was faking it. I was faking it like every woman has ever faked everything that I've ever done to them. So that's how I faked it.
stuff.
With shark eyes. And so when I go to open mics, I drink Diet Cokes and stuff the whole time. So it makes me pee for days. Like you notice, I do a whole hour straight podcast, and I normally will get up for weed. I normally don't get up to pee except in between them. I don't know why at the open mics, though. It's like somebody's turning on a faucet and I need to keep peeing. Maybe there's some kind of... I don't get nervous before I go on stage. Maybe there's a physical, like a thing about performing that makes me want to pee so much. Just like get everything out. Because I do have... I've thought about... Because I used to be a musician and you'd play for like an hour on the higher end. And I used to think about all the time, like, man, I'm going to have to piss in the middle of the set and I'm not going to be able to hold it and I'm going to pee myself. So maybe my body's like, evacuate before you go up there. But
Wait.
yeah, I bet Great Marsh, safe, and Strange Brew. Devastated their bathroom right before as the comic before me went up there.
Jesus.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. But next
Well, there's
month,
tip number
I'll have
2.
a cookie.
Evacuate.
That's a good tip. I'm not even fucking kidding. Pee and shit before you go on stage and go up there like a clean balloon.
That's actually a really good tip because I am super concerned every time I'm getting close where I'm like, am I gonna have to pee? Like, what am I have to do if I might have to really pee for 5 minutes while I'm standing on stage?
It's even like you're not going to have to pee. You're just going to think about peeing, and you're not going to be able to be in the moment and be in your set. You got to be fucking
You have to be
ready
there,
to go.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to go out on a date, right? And it's one of the first times you date. You blow your load into socks before you go out because you can't go out there like guns blazed, fully loaded, nukes armed, pointed at Iran. You're going to start a war or you're going to make stupid decisions like, man, you know what? That girl was hot. And your friend's like, that girl was a mall pig, dude. Like, what the hell are you doing?
The problem with that, like you blowing your loads into your socks,
Yeah.
your dogs eat your socks.
Your dog eat your socks. It's because you come in them. This is a high school thing, Wayne. You just took it into the future.
Shit.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think Wayne's right. There's a metaphor in coming into your dog's face or whatever Wayne's talking about. Yeah,
What?
that's what you meant. We all know what you meant. America knows what you meant, Wayne. America knows what Wayne's.
Shit.
Wayne's like, they say you should put Skippy in your dick to get the dog over. How about that fluff? Okay, tip number 3. Right? We're at 3. I think we're at 3. If we're not at 3, then fuck you guys. You follow along, okay? We're going down tangents. We're going down holes. I'm going to be all over the place. Stay in the fucking podcast. Listen. Okay, so number 3. I think we need to emphasize how much, as an open micer, the host and the audience comes into play of how your set's going to go. These are the out of your control things. So there's a lot of things that are in your control in comedy. There are some things that are out of your control. And that's important to know in the beginning. Because I think for me, I was like, everything's in my control. If I have a bad set, it's because I did something wrong. If I had a good set, it's because I did something right. And actually, both of those things could be completely incorrect. It's really dependent on 2 things. Your host, if they suck, you're going to have to think about that as you're going on stage. Meaning, if he's bombing as he's bringing you up, the audience energy is going to be a little bit low when you get up there. So either start with something, like a quick misdirect, shocking joke, something to get them like their attention up, or just know that it's going to take you a little bit to ramp up the stuff. Vice versa, if you have a super hilarious host who gets the energy up, you might be able to dive in right away into some more of your, I don't want to call it bluer, but maybe some even more risque material right off the bat, and you might get more buy-in. So that could completely affect how your set goes. You can have a packed audience, and they might not be there for you, and you might think that your joke sucks, but you might have you didn't give the joke a chance in front of the audience, or you could have nobody there, in which case your best material is going to sound like shit because there's nobody there to fucking watch it. So those things are extremely important. Now, how about a time, Wayne, where that affected you?
I don't think that's affected me personally. So I've had a couple times where hosts have tried to go up before me and do some material, and it didn't go so well, and then they bailed. And I had to go up, and I don't feel that it benefited me because the audience was like, "What's going on?" But
Well, not even the host too. Like, what about when you did Dick Talk in Jamaica Plain and ate shit, or wherever you ate shit with that before? And when the case where if you looked at it in that regard, you might have gotten rid of that joke, but the fact that that audience was not primed for it made it a lot harder to sell it.
yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean Jamaica Plain, I don't think the audience was primed for anything anytime, but that is a really good point. If you're going to go up there and do a 5-minute set or whatever, don't necessarily take it for face value on how it goes. Sure, maybe what you're saying or your jokes are not where they should be, or maybe they can be punched up a little bit. But also pay attention to, what the host says or does, or the comic before you says or does, that can really change the energy of the room. So it may not necessarily be you, but maybe something occurred that changed how the audience was going to recept your jokes, I guess. It's not always you. It's most likely going to be you, but there's also a point where maybe something happened that changed their energy.
Yeah, I think Wayne's bulling his way through a china shop to try to say that you...
I'm trying not to fuck up.
That's all right, man. You're just fucking...
I'm trying so hard not to fuck up.
It's not your fault, man. We just put like fucking fine china on the back of a rhino and sent him in a room, and and he's like, "This is not what I meant to do." The point is, this is a great tip. A bit of improv at the beginning of your set when the energy's down is the quickest way to bring the energy back up, because you're doing a topical, in the moment thing that anybody can buy into, and especially if the host or comic before you has something that you can draw off of for inspiration for that. Like if the host bombs beforehand, sometimes it might be good to bring that up when you go up on stage. A quick topical jab improv set on them can get everybody on your side before you get into your set too. So that was what I'm gonna guess Wayne meant to say by that word salad he said.
You motherfucker.
Like when when John Cena shows up at a school and they get to ask him questions, and then like the kid goes up, he's like, and he's like, "Do you have a question for John Cena?" And he's like, and he didn't think about the question before he started talking. He just hopes that he fucking finds the question before he gets there. He's like, "So at WrestleMania 26." That was the tip that Wayne just gave you guys. WrestleMania 26.
Yeah, it was, but I was also trying to not say something wrong.
Oh, what about my set?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I feel like I was put into a position where I was maybe should have said something about that, but didn't, and I was trying to avoid that at all costs.
That wasn't even in my head when I asked you that question.
It was very obvious that it was, but obviously it wasn't.
I wasn't thinking about that at all. But let's, for the audience, because I don't want to we don't want to speak inside baseball without explaining to it. When I just say I had a problem with the host at an open mic because of a way that he introduced me 4 straight times of. Literally, I've been there 4 times, and 4 times he did the same joke about how my last name is hard to say, and then he doesn't want to say it and all that. And every time, because this is the thing, that's not funny. And the whole point of doing comedy for people when you're a host beforehand is to say something funny. Like if you made fun of me personally and said something that is a good joke, but still is really mean and shits all over me, hell yeah. Do that shit every time. You're not going to hurt my feelings in that regard. But if you do something about me, especially the same joke 4 times in a row, and it bombs 4 times in a row, right before I go on stage, I have a hard time accepting that, because I have a hard time keeping my little brown mouth shut. Actually, you know what? The winter's coming. I'm white again. Little white mouth shut.
Yeah, I'll say this, then we can get off this topic. But if you are a host, your job is to bring up the crowd for anybody performing for your show. Whether you are a book show, somebody's paying $100 to see your show, somebody's coming there for free to see an open mic. Bring the energy up for all of your performance. It's only going to do better for your show. Don't make fun of somebody's name. Don't make fun of you can make fun of somebody's name. You can make fun of anything as comedy, but don't bring the energy down for the performer coming up, because it's just going to make the show worse.
That's 100% of my point. It has nothing to do with the name thing or all that, because people say my name wrong a lot, and it doesn't bother me. Because it is what it is. Have a regular last name, you fucking Portuguese piece of shit, and people will be able to say it. So that, again, if he said something like that, like this Portuguese piece of shit with the unpronounceable last name, maybe it's literally all about if it's funny. Say a funny thing. Make it easy for me to say my joke. Say a not funny thing, you make it harder for me to say my joke. And if you're a host, you're a host. So I don't care if it's an open mic or not. You are a host. So you have to do the things Wayne talked about. If you don't want to do that, do bucket style and have a comic go up with the next comic, and then do it tag team, where the next comic just calls up the next one. That way you don't have to host and you don't have to talk in between and fucking bomb your dick off every time. You can just fucking set the lights up in the thing and go drink in the back with your friends and have the same experience. But to just suck dick up there before someone goes up, tough.
We can't all have a nice white name like Russell.
I know. Yeah, Justin George Wayne Russell. It's just me and Jacques Lamet that are fucking worried about people make fun of our name. Actually, no one makes fun of Jacques' name because it's such a sweet name.
That's a great name.
It is a great name. That's like, think about how great of a name that is, and then Eugenio. Like, you can't say that last name cool. But every time I think about doing like a stage name or something, I think about Sebastian. What say his last name?
Maniscalco?
Yeah. See, I like him, and I can't say his last name. And I'm like, oh, you can have any last name. It doesn't fucking matter. It matters that you're funny. Walter Wayne Cronkite says.
We've gotten a little off topic here.
But that was the topic. We were on topic. That host sucked.
Well,
that was part of the thing.
Yeah, 100%. He did. But
This was as tangential as my tangents get.
so, what else in it? Like, let's say somebody's listening to this, their first open mic. They're like, all right, I'm gonna fucking do it. What is something that you would say to them? Like, okay, you're going to your first open mic. Here's what you need to know, or here's what you should do. When you get there, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So we did that episode where we're talking about when you get there, how to set up and put your name down and all that stuff. But to me, the big technique thing I would say for your first mic is going to be deliver, especially if it's your first time. You got to confidently deliver your material, and how I'm saying that is, let's make eye contact with people in the crowd, as uncomfortable as it is when you're selling what you're selling. And I think that your jokes are going to, cadence-wise, fall in a lot quicker into good timing.
Yeah, so I should have prefaced that a little bit. So we had an episode about, like, hey, your first open mic, go here, put your name up, get there early so you can put it where you want it to be, talk to people, blah, blah, blah. So this whole thing is, like what we've learned. So, like Anthony said, one of the things we've learned was do that. Say your jokes with confidence. That's gonna really help.
It's like 60% of the battle is your.
It really is.
Yeah, putting it out there, right?
You could tell a joke that is absolutely horrendous. Not horrendous, but like let's say it's a really blue joke. You could say it like really poorly, I guess, is how you would say, where you're not confident in the way you're saying it, and it's going to bomb. But let's say you say the same exact joke with a lot of confidence, a lot of gusto. The audience is going to buy in a lot more. So be confident going up there. Don't worry about what people are going to think. Don't worry about what people are going to say, because chances are, one, nobody's going to remember you. At least on your first time, anyways.
Don't say chances are. Certainly are.
Yeah, certainly are. People aren't going to remember you. So go up there, just say it with the confidence and the gusto to get your point across.
I guess it's just giving your jokes a chance, right? That's really the
give
point
your jokes a chance and let the audience know that you think they're funny. If the audience thinks that you think they're funny, they're probably going to think they're funny as well. If they think that you don't think they're funny, they're going to be like, "Oh, he doesn't even think that's funny. Why is he even saying it?" So you really need to have that like, boom, here you go.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot in the beginning of, like, do I have to have, like, a stage voice? Like, Bruce Buffer and Michael Buffer sound like normal dudes when they talk, and then they're like, oh, let's get ready to... Like, that type of thing.
That's a fucked up story in itself, by the way.
It is, yeah. Look up the two. Crazy thing. One runs the UFC announcing, one runs boxing. They didn't even know each other till they were adults. What's going on?
And they're related.
They're brothers.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? But, yeah. I always wondered if you had to do that when you went on stage. And I realized that, to me, what I think the best way to stage perform is to think about your joke like, you want to, whoever it is, if it's your wife, your husband, or your best friend, or somebody at work, that person that you go to when you have a cool story to tell, and you're like, oh my God. So do you remember, like, this guy here, he said all that energy is what you need to bring into performing. Pretend like you're telling us a story that you wanted to tell, your wife when you got home about the crazy thing that happened to you in the day. You have to do that like you're telling the story for the first time every time. That's the trick. That's the magician's trick of doing comedy. The magician shows their illusion like it's the very first time they're trying it every time, like the amazing aspect of it. That's really kind of what you want to lean to as well. This is a fresh story.
That's such a good comparison. Like, you almost look at like a magician like doing a trick. It is almost like they surprise themselves every time.
Yeah.
So when you're doing,
a magician's a perfect comedy comp. I think they're the same exact thing. They're the same exact thing, just a different part of your brain that they tweak. Because everything starts off as a misdirection, a setup, a misdirection, and a reveal. That's what comedy is. That's what jokes are, and that's what tricks are. They're all about taking you somewhere you think you know where you're going and taking you in a completely opposite direction. Sometimes it'll even feel mystical in that direction. But if the magician is out of the joke, out of the trick, you're not going to buy into the trick. You're going to feel like they're just doing a trick for you. If he feels like he's present in the moment, catching the bullet with his hand, and it really makes it feel like he's catching the bullet, you buy in. It's key. Go watch a magician.
Dude, that's such a good. I never thought of that as a comparison, but that's perfect.
That's why I like Penn and Teller so much. They blur the lines of comedy and magic.
I love them.
Yeah,
Fool
they
Us,
have great
fantastic
timing.
job.
They're like Abbott and Costello if they fucking sawed ladies in half, which they might have.
They might have, yeah.
They did that back then. They're like, what'd you say about my ham? So we got you about 4 to 1,000 tips and life lessons from old Uncle Anthony, Uncle Wayne. So if you're younger and listening to this podcast, sorry. But, YouTube let us do this. We blur the lines of what YouTube will let us do. So that's it. And remember that if you're going to do an open mic, go out there and fucking do it. Stop being the little bitch that your dad called you your whole life. And that every day you look at a picture of him and you go, I would have been better if you were nice to me. Don't worry about that. Just go and do the fucking mic, and we'll be nice to you, and we'll be there. Because it's another step in the worthy quest for motherfucking quest laughs. Questlove. Good night!
We're going to Quest slaps.